there.
Name bands?
Don't think we didn't have fun.
So what kind of dancing was it? Like swing dancing or
it was jazz?
Jazz. So you got the big bands.
Big bands.
And sort of and
We
they'd have
loved
like a big
that.
dance hall at Elkhart Lake, and there would be
During
the
the
single
summer.
lady sitting at one table.
You know what
and-
we used to do, Jane?
What?
Gosh, you are special. I never taught. Elkhart Lake was a train stop from Chicago. The 400.
The 400 train. Is that a name of a train?
It's the name of a train.
A train line. So
And it was a cross-country train, but it left the Union Depot in Chicago. How do I remember all
I don't
this?
know. So wait, so is this like the North?
I went to Chicago. I was the one. Do you know that when your mother was pregnant with Jordan, she made the trip. She was due very shortly. Harry had to go to. They took him from It was in Modesto. She went to Modesto after they got married, and she got a job in the Tioga Hotel.
Adele did.
Adele did. And Harry was shipped overseas.
To Africa.
And she was pregnant.
With Jordan. Wow.
So and we were still going, that's...
But see, but this is the thing. So you were still in Wisconsin for a while.
Yeah.
And you were going to Chicago and having fun. And then you met Leslie probably after that.
I met Leslie in Milwaukee, in Madison.
In Madison. And then when did the family slowly started moving out to the West? Because Adele and Harry settled in Sacramento. No, that didn't happen for a while.
They didn't. They stayed in Milwaukee.
For a few years, until a couple years after Jordan was born. And then they...
moved to Modesto.
They moved to Sacramento.
Sacramento.
Yes, Sacramento.
I remember when they moved to Sacramento because we were living at that time in Petaluma.
So you had already moved out west.
Well, I moved to Langlois, Oregon when I got married.
That's true. That's right. Okay. So you were kind of already left Milwaukee.
I was in Langlois, and then from Langlois, we moved. He gave up his job there because I was pregnant, and it's the wilderness. I mean, there wasn't even a hospital there.
And then you went to Petaluma from there.
I went to Petaluma, and that was near Sacramento, so we established a pretty good relationship.
Right.
I even got my mother out there one time.
Really? She traveled?
No, she didn't travel, but just for special occasions.
Right. So she
came when she came to Petaluma when Alan was born.
She flew all the way out here and she saw Alan.
She didn't
Took
fly.
the train.
She took the train.
Wow.
Paul put her on the train.
Wow.
He was still
Paul
in
is still in
Milwaukee.
That's amazing. How was her relationship with you after you moved out there? Was it difficult for her to say goodbye to her children like that after you
I know it was difficult for her because we were the breadwinners.
Right. And then she didn't really have anyone left anymore. She never
They moved out. See, we owned property before when my father died. We had another depression over there.
Yeah.
We had a very serious depression.
Yeah.
We owned 6 tenants who couldn't pay the rent, and my father got sick.
In Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin.
In Madison. In Milwaukee. Okay. And so what can you do? They can't pay the rent. And
they couldn't pay the rent, and my father died. Gosh. There was a grocery store, and she was trying to run the grocery store by herself. And Harry, your father, and Helen and I used to stay there after 9 o'clock in case somebody came in to buy something.
Oh, my goodness.
That was in Milwaukee.
You had a grocery store.
Do you know what the depression was then?
Huh.
It was very serious.
Yeah.
They foreclosed the mortgage on our house and kicked us out.
You had to move into a different house?
We rented a house. My mother rented a flat.
What was the name of the grocery store, and why did it not make enough money to stay open?
No, we came to Milwaukee and took over the grocery store. It was arranged by some other relatives.
Okay.
And their name was Ziegler.
Okay.
Oh, this is too much. Too much. Ziegler.
The Zieglers.
They were butchers.
Kosher. Kosher butchers in Milwaukee, and they helped hook you.
That's totally foreign to your way of life.
Well, you know,
your grandfather, I remember him because we lived nearby. Grandpa Mazer and Mrs. Mazer. Mrs. Mazer was a very fashionable, stylish lady, and they lived within a mile of our house. So I was the one that always, I'd go there after on a weekend and visit.
So the Mazers, so that was, her name was Adele Mazer, wasn't it?
Adele Mazer.
Adele Mazer. And so there was a connection there in the sense that Sophie introduced Adele and Harry, but you knew the Mazer family already?
No, that was after
after they were married. Okay, all right, got it. And then, and so there was Uncle Bob, my Uncle Bob Mazer, and Adele. Yeah.
Bob was a very nice guy.
He
was in college in Madison at that time.
And he
was younger.
And my grandma, Adele.
And what about Sylvia?
Who's Sylvia?
Adele's sister.
Oh, right, Adele's sister.
She never talked about her at all.
Why?
They had a room for her up in the attic.
What? Was she like Esther?
Not quite.
What was she like?
She was more conservative.
Yeah.
I mean, she didn't go out dance. Or maybe she did. I don't know.
Well, why didn't anyone talk about her?
Adele didn't have anything to do with her sister. She lived up... They had a room. She had her own room up in the attic. But their home was beautiful.
Compared to what you had because you were living with much less at that point, and they had more.
He used to get... Oh, you want to talk about Louis? Louis Mazer?
Louis is Adele's father.
See, I was close. I was a family person.
Yeah. The fact that you knew all these people, they weren't your family other than through marriage at the time.
But they lived nearby, and I thought, well, if my brother's going to marry her sister, maybe I ought to be friends with them.
Right. So you went over and said hello. And
her father, he used to be he had a truck.
Yeah.
And he used to go out before dawn to peddle. He was a fruit peddler.
To peddle, so he would set up a stand on the street and peddle?
No. What? That was a shanda to set up, for a Jewish man to set up a...
Oh, that's not okay?
Her mother was a very fashionable lady. They had some very wealthy relatives.
Huh. And so why was it bad that Louis did that?
Louis did that. He went out in the country. Mm-hmm. He didn't do that in the city. Because out in the country and the farms, he brought the fresh produce.
Oh, okay.
And he did very well.
Huh, interesting.
He went early in the morning. And when he came back, I worked all week. But on Saturday night, I didn't have a date. So I'd walk over to the Mazers,
Say hi to Adele, and Bob would be...
Adele wouldn't be there, but her mother and her father used to visit with me because I knew all the Jewish stuff.
Well, what were they like? Were they nice people? Were they, her
mother was they were nice. They were nice to me.
Was there a class situation? Like they thought it was a different class, or?
I don't think, I don't know. There was a culture clash because my father was a rabbi.
Is that it? So, why did that?
Then he was gone already by then.
What was the different? Why would being a rabbi be a big deal? Because it was, you had to watch what you said to the daughter of a rabbi or something like that.
Well, he was not. He was. It's hard to explain. But my father was an intellectual. And he was a rabbi, and he was the head of a congregation. But they were all poor. Everybody was poor.
Right.
It was a neighborhood thing.
Right.
And they never affiliated.
Okay, I got it.
So they weren't in his, and of course my mother we were attached to our mother.
Right.
Eve and I went to Hebrew school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But my brothers were being trained by my father. That's why we moved
rabbis.
To Chicago.
To be rabbis. And neither one of them did.
No. After he died.
They said no thanks.
No thanks.
How do you feel about that?